Hi there, I'm Rainn Wilson, and let's face it, LA traffic sucks, especially for the Cougars. And no, I'm not talking about the housewives of Brentwood. I'm talking about mountain lions who want to get across the freeways to roam around in the Santa Monica Mountains. My good friend and homeboy, P22, is stuck in Griffith Park as we speak. So what we want to do is build a wildlife crossing across the 101 freeway with total freedom and access to the Santa Monica Mountains. Here's how you can help. Text LION to 25383 to donate $10 towards this overpass. Hashtag Save LA Cougars. Not the housewives of mountain lions. Look at this beautiful cougar I just picked up.
Help save LA Cougars by texting LION to 25383 to donate $10 to the National Wildlife Federation. Message and data rates may apply. All donations must be authorized by the account holder. User must be age 18 or older or have parental permission to participate. By texting yes, the user agrees to all terms and conditions.
Make some noise for David Mizejewski here. Thanks, guys. The man himself. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We had somebody here maybe about a month ago with a parrot, and he was really skittish.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of said skittishness, and so I was just being extra cautious today.
Yeah.
But
well, I appreciate it, and the animals do appreciate it as well. You know, they are ambassador animals for their species, and you know, we can come into a studio like this and share them with everybody to help inspire conservation. But they always come first, and we want to make sure they're as comfortable as possible because you know they're in their travel crates and they're getting out of their regular routine. So we want to make a nice chill environment for them.
yeah, not necessarily in their element, I would say,
Right,
in a situation like this. David, I'm so excited. We're going to get to the animals in a second, of course, but I just wanted to talk a little bit. First of all, so happy to have you back. You've been very busy.
Absolutely,
Talk to us a little bit about what brings you here, National Wildlife Federation. Beautiful shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, we just revealed our new logo, which features Ranger Rick. He's our ambassador. Some of you guys out there might have read Ranger Rick magazine as a kid, so that's us. He's about to turn 50 years old, so
No way.
we just got these nifty new shirts, so I wanted to, premiere it here.
Is that why he's a silhouette? He doesn't want to show his age?
Exactly. Well, right, yeah. 50 years old. Yeah. He actually just got a makeover, by the way, from Parker Jacobs, who's the guy that created the Yo Gabba Gabba characters.
No way.
So if you guys out there are Yo Gabba Gabba fans,
That's got to be
Parker
the
Jacobs.
trippiest version of Ranger Rick that anyone's ever seen.
just Google Ranger Rick
I
and
gotta take a look.
you'll find the pictures of what he looks like now. But yeah, this is the grown-up version. He's just sort of classy, a silhouette,
I
all
like
that
it.
good stuff.
It's his evening hat.
That's
his,
right. It's
yeah.
his evening hat. Yeah. So what brings me to town is that we are having the very first ever Urban Wildlife Week celebration, which kicks off next week, which is Monday, October 16th, goes all the way through the week. And what Urban Wildlife Week is, it's our effort at National Wildlife Federation to put a little bit of a spotlight on wildlife that actually live and can thrive in and around human cities and towns and neighborhoods. We do a lot of work, obviously, to protect wildlife in wilderness areas and to protect wilderness areas for wildlife, and that's a really important piece of what the conservation movement is all about. But at the same time, humans dominate so much of the landscape that unless we focus on sharing our habitat, again, our cities, our towns, our neighborhoods, even rural areas, unless we accommodate wildlife in those areas, we're going to continue to see the precipitous decline of wildlife. Recent studies have shown that globally, the number of animals, of wildlife, has declined by 50% in just
crazy.
like the last few decades.
50%.
50%. It's a scary number.
That's a terrifying number.
Right? So we need to protect wilderness areas. We need to protect wildlife that needs those wilderness areas. But there's a lot of species that can actually coexist with people as long as we human beings make some simple choices and maybe even some changes in our behavior to avoid conflicts with them.
Well, I'm glad you said that because my follow-up was going to be, you got that terrifying 50% number, and this is such a huge, almost overwhelming issue. What are some of the smaller, easy things that we can get everyone to kind of get on board, get some buy-in, and start making a dent here so we can move the needle in the other direction?
Well, one very simple thing that everybody can do is plant a wildlife garden. That's what I talked about last time I was here on the show. Plant some native plants, make some habitat for the local birds and butterflies. It really does make a difference. And then in the bigger picture, what we can be doing is focusing on creating green corridors through our urban areas. And what these are it could be a collection of individual wildlife-friendly gardens, patching up with the local parks. And then if we plan our cities properly and we make the commitment to wildlife, you really can have these sort of big green areas that wildlife can use as corridors between, the more wild areas. And that's really important. The video that we just shared about P22, who's the lonely mountain lion of Hollywood. He lives in Griffith Park, right in the middle of Los Angeles. He's the poster child for our Urban Wildlife Week campaign because he really symbolizes what these wild animals are up against. He had to cross the 101 and the 405 freeways. Now, if you've ever been to Los Angeles, can you imagine?
That's an impressive feat for
Right.
any species, human, otherwise.
Absolutely.
Like, that is an impossible task.
And so that's what the National Wildlife Federation is trying to do. That's our real big focus for Urban Wildlife Week and our Save LA Cougars campaign. Because conservationists can be funny sometimes too.
Yes.
So what we're trying to do is raise $30 million to go towards building a highway overpass over the 101 freeway, a little bit north of downtown LA, which will allow animals like P22, but lots of other species, a way to cross over that highway and can reconnect their habitat.
And would it specifically, this may seem like a stupid question, but like, since presumably there'll be a lot of cougars on this overpass, not for humans, right? It's specifically a wildlife
Right.
overpass.
Yeah, I mean, it's not in a place where there's a lot of human foot traffic, although
Yeah.
I suppose people could walk across it. There's only a little bit more than a dozen mountain lions in the Santa Monica Mountains. There's not like hundreds of them. These are animals that require huge swaths of territory. And this is why P22 ended up in Griffith Park, because he's a young male, he's a year or two old, it's ready for him to leave, time for him to leave his mother. Well, he has to strike it out on his own and try to find his own habitat.
Sure.
Well, there's not that much habitat out there for him because other mountain lions are either occupying it or humans have turned it into the latest McMansion subdivision, right? And so that's, again, another thing that we can think about, how we plan our cities to make sure that we have these green infrastructures, making sure we retrofit our cities to have them so that animals can move, in and about and through them. And again, it's not just going to be mountain lions that use
Right.
this highway overpass. All sorts of different species are going to be able to use it. So that's really our goal with Urban Wildlife Week, is to just, again, put a spotlight on some of these species that really can share our habitat, what we can do to minimize any potential conflicts. Again, one other simple thing, we can talk more about this when one of the animals comes out, but like, think about here in the US, like, what's the number one animal that people usually have problems with? Raccoons, right?
There you go.
And
I thought you were
so,
pointing to humans. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh,
well,
no.
Well, yeah, that.
This is going to get dark. No, wait.
We love Ranger Rick, but we acknowledge that sometimes they get into your attic and they get into your trash can. Well, what's
for
the
sure.
solution to that?
Locking up your trash.
Exactly.
Being more responsible about not really making an inviting raccoon. I'm just spitballing here. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you're absolutely right.
There we go.
Very simple solutions, right?
For sure.
When we have conflict with wildlife, almost in every scenario, little changes on our part will completely solve it. We don't have to, wipe the animals out or destroy all of their habitat to push them, further out into ever-shrinking wilderness. We can create urban, suburban, rural areas that actually fit into the ecosystem and actually support a lot of different cool wildlife species, which not only is great because they get to continue to exist, but think about how amazing it is when you look out your window and you can see an animal like a wild turkey, which are common now all across the country, which were almost totally wiped out by people. We practice good conservation, we restored their habitat, and now, you could see wild turkeys almost anywhere.
So that's all natural that happened? There wasn't like a bunch of people dedicated to like
Oh no,
breeding turkeys, or
that was a very concerted conservation effort.
Yeah,
that did involve breeding, turkeys in captivity and releasing them, and then figuring out ways that those birds that were bred in captivity actually didn't survive. So
really?
Yeah, because they were from stock that had been in captivity for a long time, and even an animal like a bird, they have to sort of learn things by living in the wild. So they didn't know how to forage, they didn't know to fly up in the trees at night to roost, and then they got eaten by foxes, and so it required a lot of dedication on the part of conservation groups. And actually, that's the last thing that I'll say as far as actions that people can take.
Yeah.
Support conservation groups, support the National Wildlife Federation. We can't do our work without everybody out there getting involved. And there's lots of different ways you can become a member, you can make a contribution, you can share our messages on social media. So on Twitter, we're at NWF, or National Wildlife Federation. Follow us. Share our messages. We can, social media is so great because it really allows us to amplify our voice with all of your help. So there's a lot of different ways. You can plant a wildlife garden, you can buy sustainable products, all of that good stuff. There's a lot of things that we can do on that individual personal level that will really help make a difference.
Awesome. I definitely want to get to the animals. I have one more question for you before we start bringing up our friends. The name of the campaign is Save LA Cougars, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But you named him P22. You guys couldn't give him a better name? Come on.
So listen, I'll tell you, wildlife biology is not, it's science. And so in science, we tend to not name animals because they are not pets, they're not
Fair
our
enough.
buddies, and it helps you maintain objectivity.
Okay.
Right? And so that's just standard practice. And so, yeah, P22 is P22, and there's P23 and P24, and it's the mountain lion population in the Santa Monica Mountains, and that's just how the biologists have named
easier to
them.
do it that
So,
way.
we have fun with it. P22, by the way, has his own social media. You can follow him on Facebook and Twitter. Really, really funny. I have some pretty hilarious colleagues that run those. Again, conservationists, we don't have a reputation for being very funny. We're usually dour and serious and save the world, but we have a sense of humor too. So
Well, let's go ahead and do our part to change that perception and bring up some of your friends. So who do you
Perfect.
want to bring up first?
all right, so first we're gonna bring up an animal that's just totally adorable. This is Ozzy. He is an olive baboon. All right, buddy.
Certainly is.
All right, so
Yeah.
Amy there is his mom. He actually was rejected by his troop and was getting beat up, so he had to be removed and hand raised. So he's an olive baboon. There's 5 different species of baboons. This is one of the more common species.
Okay.
And this is probably the species that you think of when somebody says baboon.
Gotcha.
They have a pretty wide range across Africa, across a lot of different sub-Saharan countries. But what does this have to do with urban wildlife, right?
It doesn't really matter, honestly, at this point. You got a freaking baboon on stage. You can say whatever you want, David. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
But go on. Let's tie it back. Let's do it.
So he's obviously enjoying his grapes. So
Oh, he loves
Yeah.
grapes. That's what I'm getting out of this.
he's only 4 months old, and you can really see his cute little baby face. I mean,
Hey, buddy.
just adorable.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. So what's the urban connection with these guys?
Yeah,
Well,
let's do it.
just like that example that I was talking about with raccoons, if you go to certain places in Africa where human settlements have encroached into wild habitat,
Okay.
these animals are incredibly intelligent. They're primates. They're opportunistic. They're omnivores, so they eat. They'll pretty much eat anything, kind of just like us. And so these animals have figured out in some places that they can walk right into town and steal right out of people's garbage cans, out of their gardens, and in some cases, they even get into people's homes.
No
and
way.
you'll walk into your kitchen, and you'll have a baboon, right in your kitchen. And Ozzy is really cute because he's tiny, but when he's, a 70, 80-pound male, mature
A little bit of grape.
baboon
Yeah.
with huge canine teeth, it's not so cute. So let's see if we can reposition him so you guys can see. So he's actually hanging on to his favorite stuffed animal, which is a mandrill named Barbara. So
That's a great. Yeah. There we go. Okay. see,
and
you liked it, yeah.
and so that's just his little security blanket. If he were still with his troop, he would be hanging on to his mom.
For sure.
And so we just we want to make sure that he's as comfy and secure as possible. But really, really just amazing animal. And I don't know if you guys can see his hands, but they're so human-like. I mean, whenever I get to work, hey buddy, whenever I get to work with any kind of primate, it really does strike me how closely we are related to these species. We're just another species of primate. And there we go. See, now you made a
He's
friend.
trying to eat my finger. It's adorable.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about him chomping on you. He doesn't really have teeth yet, but
Even better. Go for it.
yeah, but you can see his little hands. I mean, they're so human-like.
While we're talking about little things that he has, I'd love to call out, if you haven't yet noticed, his adorable little diaper.
Hey, buddy.
It's got a tail hole.
Yes, it does have a tail hole. These little guys in nature would just be going, but while I'm holding him on stage here, I don't really want to get, pooped on
No,
or
nobody
peed on.
does.
Although I'll tell you, doing this job, it's pretty much a daily occurrence. So I always say it's not a good segment until somebody goes to the bathroom on me. So.
Well, we got time.
So yeah, I mean, again, these guys live in family groups called troops, and there's usually sort of one big dominant male and a whole bunch of females and babies. One of the things that you can tell the difference between an African or an old world monkey, African or Asian monkey, and
Yeah.
monkeys that live in South America is that the New World monkeys, the ones in South America, many of them have prehensile tails. What are you doing, buddy?
Is that just a coincidental location that he's trying to bite, or is he?
I think he's getting the wire.
Got it. Okay.
Oh no, he's actually biting on my leg.
That's not an attempt to nurse.
Yeah, no, it's not an attempt to nurse. And sorry, buddy, if that's what you were trying to do. I'm not going to help you out there. But yeah, again, incredibly intelligent animals. They can figure things out. And so in that scenario, just like here, if you're having trouble with raccoons or maybe even animals like black bears.
Yeah.
You drive right over the tunnel or the river, and you're in New Jersey, and there are black bears everywhere. And so it's simple things. Don't leave your windows open if you live in baboon territory. Ow. Yeah, he does have teeth. If you live in baboon territory, right? And that will really solve the problem. So, again, it's just an example of simple. Yeah, grapes are better than my finger to be chomped on. There we go, buddy.
Oh.
Yeah, he's getting more comfortable here. He's actually not a big fan of beards, so I'm
Fair
kind
enough.
of,
We'll keep him low.
he keeps looking up at me like, I don't know. It's okay, my mom doesn't like it either, but,
But in time, he'll come to accept it, right? That's what I
That's right,
found.
yeah.
All right.
How do you like that?
Chowing down on another grape.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the message here is that even for an animal like this, that again, when they're big, they can be kind of intimidating and scary.
Yeah.
Just if you don't provide things that are attracting to wildlife and put them in scenarios where they will get themselves into trouble, then we almost always eliminate any potential conflict.
Awesome.
It's as simple as that. Again, raccoons, bears, deers, mountain lions, or baboons. What do you think?
Look at him. Everybody look at him. Incredible. We could spend the rest of the time
Yeah, we
with
totally
Ozzy.
could. Do I really have to give them away?
But we
All
do
right.
have a bunch of other
Yeah, let's get to some of the other cool animals.
furry friends that are going to join us here. But I call dibs. I want to try to hold Ozzy before this day is done, before we say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
So what do we
All
got
right,
next coming
so
up?
Our next animal is pretty rad. This is a rodent, and when you think of urban rodents,
I'm just going to step back and let you keep doing what you're doing. You
Yeah.
go right ahead.
you probably are thinking of things like rats. This is a porcupine,
Sure is.
right? So let's see if we can cheat him over here towards camera that way. So this is a prehensile tailed porcupine, and you can see this tail is prehensile, which again, it means that it can wrap around like a fifth limb.
I heard Derek say earlier he called him monkey tail porcupine.
Exactly, that's another name.
Is that a fun
for them.
name for him? Yeah.
Yeah, and so these guys live in the trees in South America. They're arboreal, hence
Yeah.
having that prehensile tail, which they can use as a fifth limb. Like all porcupines, it's got these modified hairs, and it's actually perfect. He's twisted that way. Do we have another banana? These are modified hairs that are in the shape of these really, really, really sharp quills. Now, I'll dispel a few myths. These animals cannot fling their quills at you.
Nice.
Okay.
Good to know.
None
Front
of-
row is very relieved right
None
now.
of the porcupines can do that. What they will do if they get really, really threatened is that they'll shake their body and they'll lash their tail. And if you get in swinging range of that,
Yeah.
those quills are designed to pop out. They have a barbed tip on the really pointy end, and if they hit you, that is going to stick into you. I don't.
We got to turn him around so they could see his big dumb nose.
Yeah, let's see
It's
if we can-
incredible.
Come on, buddy. Let's
What's
see.
his name, by the way?
Derek, do you have a name?
Thorn? I
That's
like
a good name. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, let him focus that way there, and I'll stand
Incredible.
over here so he
Yeah.
can turn around. But yeah, so those quills obviously are designed to protect him from predators, things like pumas, or even things like maybe large birds of prey or whatever. Jaguars that might try to eat him are gonna really be deterred by that that arsenal of these spiky quills. And it can actually be life-threatening to a predator that gets a mouthful of these quills, because they won't be able to shut their mouths, they won't be able to eat. He's plowing through this banana. But these animals rely on rainforests, tropical forests. And most of us know at this point that we're really decimating those ecosystems
Yeah.
around the world. In South America, when these animals are losing their habitat, they don't have anywhere where they can get food. And these guys are herbivores, so they're eating plant material. He obviously likes fruits.
Loves it.
And so when they have no more natural food sources, this is an animal that has been known to go into farms or gardens on the outskirts of town and raid those crops, which then, of course, animals that do that typically don't last very long, because we humans get territorial. So if we preserve habitat for wildlife, even in and around our cities, our towns, our neighborhood, and make sure they have what they need to survive. Clean, natural sources of food and water and shelter, and the resources in order to raise their young. Those are the 4 things that all species need. We can have this amazing animal. Again, how cool would it be to look out your window and see this animal in its habitat?
No doubt, I'm slightly terrified, full disclosure, but he is undeniably gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like the color under the quills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable, and he seems pretty gentle. He likes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
digs you.
Porcupines are not aggressive animals.
Yeah.
And so, but they're even if they're not being aggressive, they can do a number on you. They have sharp teeth. They have sharp nails. And if you got on the wrong end, if you got really agitated and stuck me, that would be the end. Are we out of banana here? You want to feed him?
I was gonna say.
Yeah, grab that, and open up your hand, and just put your hand out like that, and he'll take it right out, and you don't have to worry. Here, move your hand that way. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Hey,
They're also rather aromatic animals. I know it's not smell.
That's my thumb.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and put that just a little bit closer.
Flat hand.
Oh, I dropped it.
Yeah.
You stay there. You stay there. I'm just gonna grab that. Okay.
Yeah. So open your hand flat and
Okay.
put it on the table.
Put it on the table. I can do
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna come around the other side.
Yeah.
Camera guys are going nuts.
He's
over me right
not going to hurt you. Just do
now.
this.
Okay.
And he's not going to bite you. You have to be brave.
A big brave dog.
Yeah. Over here. I'm not worried about losing my job.
Here we go. Oh, that's my thumb again. Well, actually, that's just just.
There we go. There we go. See?
Yeah. There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
Pretty incredible animal.
I am. Thank you.
We do actually have a North American species of. You are. I'm so focused. I'm moving on to my next animal here.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should keep moving.
We do have a
go to the
North
next
American species of porcupine, though, that is also known to get itself into trouble. These animals love salt because they don't get a lot of it in their natural diet. So campers, if you're hiking or camping up in sort of the northern U.S. or Canada, you have to be careful with putting your sweaty clothes or your backpack, or if you're in a cabin like an axe handle, because they'll come and chew through that in order to get the salt. So
Wow.
All right.
Well,
let's
thank
bring
you.
out.
Thorn's amazing. Who's up next? What do we got now?
All right, so this animal is also pretty cool and killer, literally. This is a cane toad. Check out the size of this guy, right? This is one of our biggest amphibian species. Not quite the biggest, but one of them.
I want to go back to the killer part that you mentioned.
Okay, so that's part of his urban story.
Oh.
So this is a toad species
Okay.
called a cane toad or a marine toad. These guys are native to sort of lower Central America into northern South America. And this is their natural size. It's not like sort of, a Frankenstein's monster or anything that's been fed steroids. This is just how big they get. And, like most amphibians, they eat anything small enough that they can cram down their big, fat, wide mouths.
I can connect to that.
And so there is a species of beetle that is a big problem with crops. And in their native environment, these guys actually help keep their population of those beetles, those pest beetles, under control. So several decades ago, this beetle got accidentally introduced into Australia and was impacting crops there. And so somebody thought it would be a really great idea. Oh, why don't we just introduce the cane toads, because they naturally eat these beetles.
Yeah, but now they got a million of these guys, don't they?
So what happened is these guys got introduced. They ate the beetles, but they also ate all of the native Australian wildlife that doesn't have amphibians like this, of this size. So they have no natural defense against them. And so it's actually become a really big invasive exotic species problem that we have. And they actually will happily move right into your backyard. And so the problem with these guys in those scenarios is that dogs, cats, little kids find this in their yard, and the first thing that those 3 creatures do is they tend to put it in their mouth, right?
Oh, this is the toad people lick to get messed up.
Well, there's a lot of different toads that you could lick to get messed up. I would not recommend
I
licking.
saw it on a Family Guy episode. Hang on, full disclosure. I don't know from experience. Is that a thing? Does that work?
It does work, yeah, but I wouldn't recommend doing it because, you could kill yourself. Now, it's a little bit hard to see, but this giant bump here behind this toad's eye, his body is covered in bumps, which, by the way, are not warts.
Okay.
Warts are a virus. They affect mammals like us. Toads do not have warts. They are incapable of it. All of these little bumps, including this giant one here and this giant one here, are glands that produce poison. Oh. And that helps keep this animal safe from predation. But when your pet dog or your pet cat, when this animal ends up in an urban or suburban area and gets a toad like this in its mouth, it could actually kill it. And there are instances of that.
Well, I was just going to
Yeah.
say, I was going to recommend one that we go ahead and pass off the killer toad then in that case and bring
You
up
wanna go
something
on?
a little.
Sorry.
I want to make sure. I'm not even, guys. I'm going to make an executive decision right here. We've got some more animals. I'm going to keep bringing them up. I might
Yeah.
just take like one question at the end. All right, but we've got
Got
some
it.
really cool stuff. Let's go ahead and bring our next guest on.
All right,
up here.
this next one is one of my favorite animals of all time. This is the quintessential North American urban animal, other than maybe the raccoon, and it's the Virginia opossum. And so she's a little skittish.
Can
So
you say
we're
that one more time? The Virginia. what?
Virginia opossum.
You say the O?
You say the O. Most people, you can shorten it to just possum.
That's
That's totally
I had a
fine.
debate at home. I just want to point it out. I was right. You say the O, as you were. Sorry. Go on.
So this is an animal that gets such a bad rap because, let's face it, it's not really attractive. They're kind of ugly little critters.
It's actually one of the cuter ones I've seen. I'm usually.
I think they're adorable. But here's the story with them. They are North America's only marsupial. Most marsupials are found in Australia. So this animal was born as a little premature thing about that big and crawled into its mother's pouch with 12 of its siblings. It nursed. It eventually climbed out and rode around on her back. They are so awesome and unique. They are one of the only mammals that does not get rabies. They're one of the only mammals that does not get rabies. They feed on venomous snakes.
It's amazing.
They're pretty much they're semi-immune to like copperhead or rattlesnake venom, so they keep them down. And the coolest thing is that recent studies have shown that this animal is one of the most important animals that we have to keep Lyme disease down. They feed on thousands of ticks. So what happens is ticks get on them just like they do any other mammal or bird or whatever. Possums are actually really fastidious animals. They groom themselves like crazy, and they pluck off all the ticks that get on their body and they eat them. And so in doing so, they keep them out of the environment. And of course, none of these animals want to face this way.
No.
They never do. Anyway, so they're a really cool animal to have around. Just like with raccoons, they sometimes get into your trash can. They sometimes might get into your attic. You want to just make sure you critter-proof your house, keep tight lids on your trash cans, and you're never going to have a problem with these guys. You want them around. They also eat slugs and other garden pests.
I gotta say, the crazy thing is I was doing some research, and I couldn't believe what a solid contributor to the community these guys are.
they
They
really-
take care
they really
of
are.
so many little pests and
Yeah.
problems.
And I'll tell you, these are one of the animals that have actually benefited from the way that we've changed the environment. They're more numerous now than they would have been when there are lots of bigger predators, and they can take advantage of the way that we humans have changed the environment. And they just have cool hands and feet, and they have also prehensile tails. Let's see.
Is he grabbing? He's grabbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got you.
Yeah. So, all right, we have one
One
more
more.
animal to get to. You just leave him down, okay. One more animal to get to.
Oh man.
Also kind of skittish, so
I'm gonna
we'll-
go around the other side for this one.
let me toss that there. All right, so this animal is a fox.
Wow.
All right, and do we have any snacks for him? Okay. So this is actually an Arctic fox. So this is the fox that he's actually in the process right now of growing in his winter coat. Beautiful, thick white coat. Now, obviously, not an animal that's going to be walking down Manhattan Street the way the possum would, but I've actually been up in Canada doing polar bear work and seeing these guys walk right into town.
Sorry, can we go back for a second? Can you elaborate on polar bear work?
Yeah, so if you go up, there's a town called Churchill up in Manitoba, and it's a place where the polar bears gather, actually at this time of year, waiting for the sea ice to form.
Gotcha.
Polar bears must have sea ice in order to hunt the seals that they need to survive, and most other bears go dormant in the winter, and they don't eat for months in the winter. Polar bears do the opposite. When the sea ice melts on the Arctic, up in the Arctic, they actually go hungry for several months. And with climate change, the time that it's taking the sea ice to form is longer and longer and longer. So on average, bears are going 3 or 4 weeks longer without eating anything. Wow. So anyway, so
All right, so back to this guy.
So
yeah.
this species of fox, again, is not going to show up in your backyard in most places in the lower 48. But if you were up in Canada or up in the Arctic, well, there we go. Now
You go on, David. I'm gonna.
Now that is why.
I'm gonna hang out.
Really important message, guys. These animals are not pets. They're on leashes for their own safety, for my safety, for just standard protocol. This is not a domesticated animal. This is an animal that, if it really got agitated or aggressive, could hurt you. These are not animals that should ever be made pets. Wildlife should always remain wild. Now, again, the National Wildlife Federation is all about you guys getting outdoors, going into nature, and experiencing these guys and observing them from afar. But you know, they are wild animals.
Being responsible.
Now, this is an Arctic fox, but in North America, the lower 48, we have two other species, the red fox and the gray fox. the red fox can sometimes be gray, and the gray fox can sometimes be red.
How lucky is that?
Right. And so the thing to look for is the tip of the tail. The gray fox has a black tip.
Okay.
The red fox has a white tip. At any rate, these animals could show up in your backyard, and they're doing this to fruits. They might be doing this to a squirrel. They're not going to be dangerous. They're not going to attack you unless you get too close to them.
Right.
So teach your kids just to respect wildlife. If you see a fox in your yard, these animals are not, they're not any bigger than your house cat. They're not going to eat your pets. A coyote might, but not a fox.
Fair enough.
So again, don't freak out. You don't have to call animal control if you see a fox, even if it's during the day. That's kind of a myth that it's unhealthy or sick. If it's acting sick, then it's probably sick. If
Okay.
it's just walking through your neighborhood, probably totally fine. And a great example of a carnivore that can thrive right in our own backyards.
Awesome. Real quick, I want to go to one thing, and then we do have to wrap up because we are running
Yep.
out of time. But you had mentioned common myth: if you see them during the day, doesn't necessarily mean they're sick. Is that true of like raccoons too, or all
Totally.
animals?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like a dead giveaway if you see them during the day.
Totally, yeah. I
It's
mean,
not
these animals are adaptable, and they figured out ways to survive around people, and sometimes that means being active during the day. Again, if you see an animal frothing at the mouth or walking erratically, yeah, call
Right,
animal
for sure.
control. But I almost every month at National Wildlife Federation get calls from people saying, "Oh my God, there's a fox in my backyard. It must be rabbit. It's coming to eat me." And I'm like, take a deep breath. It's okay.
What constitutes a safe distance?
So with a truly, a wild animal in the wild,
Answer quickly, please.
never this close.
Gotcha.
An animal, if it was
Yeah.
healthy, wouldn't let you get this close to it. So, 20, 30, 40 feet, watch from your window inside, sit on your deck. Never walk towards it, and you'll be fine.
Got it. Well, I do have to let you go. Before we get out of here, last thing, where can people go? What are the resources? How can we get more information? How can we be a part of the solution?
Go to urbanwildlifeweek.org,
Okay.
and that will take you right to our Urban Wildlife Week page. You can learn about P22, how to get involved, how to make a donation. All of that good stuff is right there. And of course, you can always just check out nwf.org for National Wildlife Federation, and you can see all the great work that we're doing to protect wildlife.
Beautiful. David, thank you so much for being
You're
here,
welcome.
guys.
Thanks for
Remember,
having me.
hands up. One more time for David Mizejewski. Thank you so much. We got a lot of show left. Don't go away. One more time. Hands in the air, everybody. Perfect. Thank you.